Good evening, everyone, and welcome to your channel, USA Trends 1.
This is the place where you'll find the latest trends, stories, and highlights straight from the heart of America. Let's get started.
Today we're taking a closer look at the incredible life and legacy of Jane Goodall.
Yes, the world-famous primatologist and activist who, sadly, passed away recently at 91.
That's right, confirmed natural causes. And she was actually still active on a speaking tour in California when it happened.
It really is the end of an era, but her legacy, well, it's revolutionary, isn't it?
Absolutely.
When you look back at her decades of work, especially those early days in Gombe, her discoveries about chimpanzees, they weren't just, about animal facts.
No, right.
They fundamentally changed how we see ourselves, our definition of humanity, really, and our place in the whole biological picture.
And that's exactly what we want to get into today. We're using the CBC News coverage of her passing as our main source. It really chronicles that amazing career.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to zero in on her, well, her sheer determination, but also that really unconventional approach she took.
Definitely unconventional for the time.
So our mission is to pull out those key moments, maybe some surprising details, that really defined her journey from researcher to global icon. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, her story, it doesn't start like a typical scientist's, no fancy degrees early on. It starts with just this powerful determination.
Right, born in London, 1934. Grew up during World War II, which couldn't have been easy.
No, and the family didn't have much money. But despite all that, she had this incredibly vivid childhood dream.
To live in Africa.
Yes, specifically Africa, working with animals. Apparently, she was totally inspired by books like Dr. Dolittle and Tarzan.
Classic adventure stories.
Yeah.
But back then, well, the expectation was different.
Completely. The prevailing idea was girls didn't do that sort of thing. It just wasn't the done thing.
And this is where her mother becomes such a crucial figure. Margaret, my family, Joseph.
Absolutely pivotal. Her mother didn't dismiss the dream. Instead, she gave her this piece of advice that sounds like it became Jane's guiding principle.
What was that?
Something like, if you really want this, you'll have to work incredibly hard, grab every opportunity, and just never, ever give up.
Wow. That's powerful. And Jane clearly listened.
She absolutely did. Remember, no formal science background initially. She worked all sorts of jobs. Waitress, secretarial work.
Saving up the money.
Exactly, saving up the fare to get to Africa. And finally, in 1957, she makes it. She's 23.
Lands in Kenya, right? Staying at a friend's farm near Nairobi.
That's the one. And that trip puts her on a path to meet the famous paleontologist, Louis Leakey.
Leakey. A huge name.
Huge. She started out just working as his assistant. But Leakey, he saw something special in her.
What was it, do you think? Her passion?
I think so. Maybe also that she wasn't, molded by traditional scientific thinking yet. He saw potential in that freshness.
Interesting.
And he offered her this absolute life-altering opportunity. Go observe chimpanzees in the wild.
Just like that. I mean, that's extraordinary.
It really was a massive leap of faith from Leakey. And there were practical hurdles, too.
Like what?
Well, the British authorities back then, they weren't comfortable with a young woman going into the Tanzanian bush alone.
All right. The proprieties of the time.
Exactly. So there was this condition that she couldn't go unaccompanied.
So who went with her?
Her mother.
Her mother went with her. To live in the jungle studying chimps?
For the initial period, yes. Can you imagine? So July 13th, 1960, Jane and her mother arrive at what was then just called Gombe, now Gombe Stream National Park, right on Lake Tanganyika.
What a start to a scientific career. Mother in tow. Okay, so she gets there. Does it take long to make contact?
Not long at all, actually. That very first evening, she had her first significant sighting. A chimp she described as grizzled, a male, and she named him David Greybeard. That's one, giving names right from the start.
Which we'll come back to. But David Greybeard, he becomes central, doesn't he?
Absolutely central to those initial groundbreaking observations. And the speed of these discoveries is just, well, it's stunning.
How quick are we talking?
We're talking within 4 months. 4 months of patient observation. And she makes 3 connected discoveries that basically turn primatology on its head.
Okay, lay them out for us. What was the first big one?
First, she observed chimps eating meat, specifically termites. This was huge because the prevailing wisdom was that they were purely vegetarian.
Right. A major dietary shift in understanding. What was second?
Second, she saw them fishing those termites out of mounds using sticks. Clear, undeniable tool use.
Okay, tool use. That's already shaking things up. But it was the third one.
The third one was the real bombshell. She realized they weren't just picking up any old stick, they were actively preparing the tool.
How so?
Stripping the leaves off twigs to make them more effective for termite fishing. That's not just tool use, that's tool crafting, tool making.
And that was the observation that directly challenged the definition of what made humans unique.
Precisely. For centuries, we defined ourselves as man, the tool maker. That was supposedly our thing.
And suddenly, here are chimpanzees, not just using tools, but making them.
Exactly. It forced a massive reevaluation. Louis Leakey's response when he heard the news is legendary.
What did he say?
He sent her a telegram that famously said something like, "Now we must redefine tool, redefine man, or accept chimpanzees as humans."
Wow. Just think about the implications of that statement in 1960.
It completely shifted the paradigm. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The way she got to that profound insight, it came from a methodology that was, let's say, deeply unscientific by the standards of the day.
Right. This brings us to the conflict she faced when she stepped out of the jungle and into academia.
Exactly. After about 15 months in Gombe, she took a break to get her PhD in ethology at Cambridge University.
A top institution. But it wasn't smooth sailing.
Not at all. Apparently, she immediately clashed with her professors there. They had major issues with her approach.
Specifically the naming. Giving them names like David Greybeard, Flo, Fifi.
That was a big part of it. And also describing their behaviors using words related to personality, emotion, intention. The establishment saw that as pure anthropomorphism, unscientific.
The rule was strict objectivity, right? Assign numbers, not names. Keep emotional distance.
Absolutely. She even said later, it was a bit shocking to be told I'd done everything wrong.
But hang on a second. Weren't the academics? Didn't they have a point? Isn't naming animals and assuming their feelings inherently biased? Couldn't that cloud the observations?
But that's the standard scientific critique, and it's a valid concern about potential bias. Goodall acknowledged the criticism.
But she didn't change her methods.
No, she stuck to her guns. Her justification wasn't based on scientific protocol, but on common sense, derived from lived experience.
Experience
Like spending time with her own dog, Rusty, as a child. She argued, quite powerfully, that you simply cannot share your life meaningfully with any reasonably intelligent animal, dog, chimp, whatever, and pretend they don't have individual personalities, moods, intentions.
So for her, the empathy, the connection, it wasn't a bug, it was a feature.
Exactly. She believed it wasn't an obstacle to the science. It was the key to unlocking deeper truths. It was precisely because she saw them as individuals that she could observe the nuances, the patience, the social dynamics, the planning that led her to spot that critical detail of the stick being prepared.
So the very thing she was criticized for, anthropomorphism, was arguably the source of her breakthrough.
That's the fascinating paradox. And look, despite the academic pushback, her approach yielded undeniable results. The world took notice, especially after the 1965 National Geographic TV film Miss Goodall and the Wild Chimpanzees.
Right, that really brought her work to a massive audience.
It did, and it helped secure funding and establish the Gombe Stream Research Center. That center has now logged something like 165,000 hours of observation data on over 320 chimps.
An incredible scientific legacy built on a foundation the establishment initially rejected.
It really shows the power of sticking to your convictions, even when the experts tell you you're wrong. But that same deep connection, that empathy, it also drove the next major phase of her life.
The shift away from full-time research.
Yes. In 1986, she made this really significant pivot from being primarily a field scientist to becoming a global activist.
That must have been a difficult decision, leaving the chimps she knew so well.
I imagine it was incredibly difficult, but she felt compelled to. She started traveling relentlessly, sometimes up to 300 days a year.
Doing what? What was the focus?
Meeting world leaders, speaking, campaigning, basically advocating fiercely for conservation and environmental protection. This became the main work of the Jane Goodall Institute, which she'd actually founded earlier in 1977.
And her activism, it wasn't just save the chimps, was it? It was broader.
Much broader. And this is really critical to understanding her later legacy. She developed this unique brand of advocacy. It wasn't just about preserving habitats in isolation. She fundamentally understood, maybe earlier than many, that you couldn't protect animals if the people living nearby were struggling. Conservation was intrinsically linked to human well-being.
So environmentalism as a human rights issue, almost.
Exactly. She explicitly connected conservation efforts to things like poverty reduction and particularly the empowerment of girls and women.
Why that specific focus?
Her famous quote captures it perfectly. How could we even try to save the chimpanzees when the people were struggling to survive? She saw that lifting communities, especially empowering women within those communities, was essential for long-term environmental health.
That's quite holistic. Did this translate into specific projects?
Oh, yes. For instance, the Lake Tanganyika catchment reforestation and education project started back in '94. It wasn't just about planting trees.
What else did it involve?
Things like microfinance programs, boosting local education, improving health services, often specifically targeting women and girls as key drivers of change in their communities. It's this idea of integrated development.
Save the chimps by helping the village thrive.
You got it. And perhaps the most enduring expression of this philosophy is her youth program, Roots and Shoots.
Yes, I've heard of that. It's global now, right?
Absolutely global, active in something like 130 countries. She seemed incredibly proud of it.
What's the core message of Roots and Shoots?
It distills her core belief down to something very actionable for young people. Every one of us matters and makes a difference every day.
Empowering kids to act locally.
Yes, encouraging them to identify and tackle problems in their own communities, problems affecting people, animals, and the environment, seeing them as interconnected. It's about fostering hope through action.
That commitment, that vision clearly resonated. She was named a UN Messenger of Peace in 2002, received numerous awards.
Indeed. And you get the sense that her urgency, especially in those later decades of tireless travel and advocacy, came from a very personal place.
You mean beyond just the science?
Yeah, she spoke about her grandchildren.
Mm.
In a TED Talk, she mentioned looking at them and thinking about the damage done to the planet just since she was their age. She said, I feel this desperation.
Wow, that's a powerful motivator. Desperation, but channeled into action.
Exactly. That blend of deep concern, almost desperation, coupled with this unwavering belief in actionable hope. That really sums up her entire journey, doesn't it?
It really does. From the controversial young researcher trusting her gut,
The empathy that led her to challenge the definition of human.
to the global activist building this holistic model where saving animals means uplifting people.
Right. Her legacy isn't just the groundbreaking science from Gombe, as important as that is. It's also this powerful demonstration that connection, empathy, and individual action can drive profound change.
So what does this all mean?
Well, I think Goodall fundamentally showed us that revolutionary science can come from unexpected places like emotional connection, and that effective activism needs that same connection. She believed really firmly that people in positions of power, the elite as she put it, could make a difference if they genuinely cared about the future for their own children and grandchildren.
Which leaves us with a pretty pointed question today, doesn't it?
It does, especially when you think about the climate crisis, the eco-anxiety, the sort of generational trauma that's building around environmental issues.
Right.
Her work challenges us. If we, the informed public, want to build on the foundation she laid, what's the most crucial thing we should pass on to the next generation? Is it just the data? Or is it that actionable, hopeful framework? She championed that simple but profound idea that every single one of us matters and every single one of us can and must make a difference. How do we cultivate that now?